Okay, welcome everyone. As a good tavach, as we learn the Mishna Yomis for this Shabbos of Parshas Chukas, as we start the week of Shabbos Bullock, and we are mamish coming down the home stretch of Masechtas Gittin. That's exciting, as we'll learn the last Masechta of Seder Noshim. With that, we will have finished in the Mishna Yomis on this cycle half of Shas, because we'll have finished Zraim, Moyed, and Noshim. That's half of Shas. That's pretty cool. So we are learning now. We're learning now Mishnah Vav and Zayin in the 9th parak of Masechtas Gittin. By the way, if you want a sponsored Kedushin, it's a glorious opportunity. 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. We are sponsored by the Fisher family, Nishmas Basi Bas Rabbi Shlomo ben Avraham Alevi, Perel Bas Reuven. We're also sponsored Nishmas Harav Moshe ben Harav David for the schus of Fu Shleimer El Yom Moshe ben Chayesar and the schus of Avraham ben Yom Benish ben Malki Yudis and family. By Yol Klugman for their Parnas Gzunta Nachas Fu Shleimer for Meir ben Chayesar and Avigdor Aye ben Rivka. They should have a Refu Shleimer b'Sech Shachul Yisrael. Now, the Mishnah says Greek, but we'll say, as the Kati says, Loyazis, so it'll be easier to visualize with English. So we know that when we sign our name in Hebrew, we go from right to left. When we sign in English, we go from left to right. So if I'm signing Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi, so then I'm signing from right to left. If I'm signing in English, Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi, I'm going from left to right. Now here, what we have is two Gittin written in two columns. The first column is one get, and the second column is a second get. And you have two witnesses, first signed in Hebrew, Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi, and David ben Yosef. Then you have two witnesses signed in English, Sheldon ben Dunn and Yitzchak ben Ephraim. So you would be tempted to say both Gittin are good, because the two signatures that went from right to left is on the get on the right side, and the two signatures in English are for the get on the left side. However, the problem is that we're worried that maybe the ones that signed in English, they said it's only right that we reverse our names. So it should be like the Hebrew signatures. So they put their name on the right side and went from right to left, even though it was English. In that case, the get on the right only has four witnesses, and the get on the left has nothing. So let's see the Mishnah inside. Shnei Gittin sheksovan zeh b'tzad zeh. Two Gittin that are written one next to each other, one on one column and then another on another column. Ushneim edim ivrim ba mitachazeh l'tachazeh. And you have two signatures of Hebrew going from one to the other. Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi and Yaakov ben Yosef. Ushnei edim yevonim, and they're two Greek witnesses or English witnesses, ba mitachazeh l'tachazeh, coming from the other side, from the left to the right. Es sha'edim arishonim nikraim mimay kasher. The one that the original Edom are read with it, the ones in Hebrew, are kosher. Now, why don't you say that the second get is also kosher from the two signatures in English on the bottom, which go from left to right? So as I explained, we're afraid that maybe they copied and said, well, if the Hebrew names are on the right, so we should reverse our way of writing. So even though we're writing in English, our name is going from right to left, and then the get on the left side would have no witnesses. Now, let's say if it was alternating. Eid Echad Ivri, you had one witness that signed Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi. Ve'eid Echad Yavani, and then somebody signed in English. And then Eid Echad Ivri, and then there's one Eid that's signed in Hebrew, and then Eid Echad Yavani, and another Eid that's signed in English or in Greek. Ba mitachazeh l'tachazeh, going from one to the other. Shnei and psulin, both Gittin apostle. Now the reason for this is interesting. The reason for this is we're afraid that the first witness that signed Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi, that obviously was going on to get to the right. The one that signed in English, when he signed Dun ben Naphtali, maybe he reversed it. And he put his name under the first get, and then the Hebrew one also put it under the first get. And the English one, maybe, even if it was for the other get, that's only 3 signed on the first get, and only 1 on the second get, so that's no good. Or we're afraid the other way around. We're afraid that the first witness, Moshe Meir ben Aaron Tzvi, I signed for the first get. But then we're worried that the second witness that wrote it in English, Dun ben Naphtali, he started by the left get. The third witness that signed in the Hebrew, maybe he copied the English. And then the English one on the bottom also did it in the normal way. Then you would have 3 on the left get and only 1 on the right get. So since we're not sure which get had 2 signatures, because maybe the first one only had three, or maybe the second one had 3, so then Shneim Psulim, they're both possible. Now let's say I was writing a get, and I didn't have room. A get is 12 lines, that's why it's called get. Gimel Tes is B'gematria 12, so Taisus, the first Taisus in Gittin says it's called a get because there's 12 lines. That's an interesting raya that even though get is Aramaic, we do a gematria with an Aramaic word, which is a raya, that get Aramaic is also an intrinsic language, and you can do gematrias. So anyway, I wrote the get, I got 11 lines, and then on the next column, I wrote the 12th line, and then the 2 witnesses signed. Shia mixes a get, uksavai badaf hasheni, it was written on the second column, va'edim umata, and the witnesses signed underneath it, kosher. Because it's clear it was going from the bottom to the top, that's kosher. Chosmu edim b'reish hadaf, but if the witnesses signed on the top, or minat tzad, or on the side, or me'akrav, or on the back of it, beget pashut, by a regular get, not the get kosher of a kohen, that's possible. It has to be on the bottom. Hikif roish shel zeh, b'tzad roish shel zeh. If you had the top of the get, and underneath it was the top of another get, v'edim emtzeh, and the witnesses signed in between, so then none of them, the witnesses signed on the bottom. It was on the top of each one. So Shneim Psulim, both those get apostle. Soifoi shel zeh, b'tzad soifoi shel zeh. If he wrote a get, and then from the bottom of the page he wrote, and the bottom of one get was parallel to the bottom of the other get, and the guy signed it, the witnesses signed in the middle, the witnesses are good for that get that they're read with. The ones that the witnesses are read with is kosher. He wrote a get, finished it, and then started another get. So you have the top of the second get, which comes after the bottom of the first get, and the Edom are signed in the middle, the Edom. So obviously over there, the Edom that are on the bottom of the first get are good. It's on the top of the second get, it's no good. Esha Edom Nikrim Seifai, the first get that has the witnesses read at the end, are kosher. We want to thank you for a very pleasant evening of learning Torah. Mirza Hashem, tomorrow we will learn at 5 to 9 again.